experts who are going to be giving you advice, strategies, and their own experience about how to grow your business from different perspectives. So, gentlemen, will you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company?
Hi, I'm Chris Gellos. I'm EVP of Channel Sales with MasterStream. MasterStream was a company that was founded about 15 years ago as primarily a automation for telecom quoting. Since that time, we've grown into a telecom-centric CPQ software company, meaning that we configure, price, quote, do so much more than quoting. But to give you an idea of scale, we quote over 15 million quotes for the telecommunications industry every single month. So that's our primary business.
I'm Jeff Lytle. I'm the founder and owner of Sandy Beaches Software. Our company was founded in 1990. We provide billing and customer care software to telecom companies all across the country. That's all.
That's perfect.
And I'm Tom Fort, Director of Business Development and one of the consultants at Innicera, formerly known as Technologies Management. We do market entry, have a whole suite of publications, and then we do ongoing compliance reporting for customers. We take new entrants into the market and take them all the way through the system and get them and keep them compliant throughout their life cycle.
Excellent. So you guys are up here talking about growth because you yourselves have walked the walk. So I'd like to know, could you take us through the growth story of your own company? So what was the process of scaling up? What are the things that required in your own company?
I'll go first. Innicera started out totally doing something different. Our founder was a salesperson selling channels for AT&T and got, when they broke up AT&T, she started in Technologies Management, and people just started asking her to help figure out how to do registration, market entry. And so they sent her all over the country to every commission to figure out what the rules and regulations were and how to get into the market. Since then, we've probably helped about 10,000 or more companies get registered in the states, stay compliant with the states. And we went from Connie Whiteman, one person, to we're now over 50 people.
As I said, we started in 1990 working with a single telecom company that was a reseller of AT&T services right after the divestiture of AT&T. The product was developed to allow one customer to bill their customers. And I worked as a consultant in their office. After we got done with that project, that company, they went out of business. The CFO had embezzled money, and I was looking for a job, and I found another company that needed telecom billing, and we started to provide it as a service to other companies. Since that time, we've billed over $1.9 billion on behalf of other telecom companies around the world. We have serviced more than 200 different individual telecom companies, and we really like what we do. Our team of programmers and customer service relations people, we're a small company. We only have 12 employees, but we have 160 years of telecom billing experience among us. And the secret to our continued being in business is just that you have to adapt. You have to be ready to make the change, whatever the industry wants, whatever the industry demands. And when you're working with telecom and computers, which is where we live as programmers or as providing billing services, you have to be willing to adapt to both those industries very quickly because they both changed quickly over the last 30 years.
So our two founders started out as agents over 20 years ago. And when they were running their own business, they were constantly looking for a better way to get quotes out the door, proposals into the hands of their customers faster, beat the competition. And they built a software program to be able to do that by connecting APIs to the carriers and getting information instantly that previously took hours and a lot of follow-up back and forth with channel managers and other support representatives from the carriers. And what they quickly realized is the real business for them was the software. Other agents started coming to them saying, could I use that tool too? And so they sold the agency and went all in on what is now MasterStream. And then since that time, they've continued to build and develop and evolve the software application so that now we do so much more than quoting, commissions, anything from the start of the sales process, managing your opportunities, all the way through to paying out commissions to agents. And our customer base now is really a who's who of telecom, almost everybody that's here.
Right. So I guess the theme in all of that is what you alluded to, Jeff, adaptability. And so for most of you, there was a moment of having to reassess what you were doing and re-identify maybe what you were best at or where the best opportunity was. Can you talk about how hard it was to change, how hard it is to get buy-in? How does that work out?
It's always tough to change. No one likes change, and the older you get, the less you like it. But change is inevitable, and you've got to learn to embrace it. You've got to learn to realize there are new opportunities with that change. So we went through, like I said, we got into it whenever AT&T was divested. We lived through the 1996 telecom. We lived through the undoing of that Telecom Act, and yet there's still competitive telecom out there. And we want to serve those people the best of our ability. That meant that we went from, in the beginning, all we were selling was, or servicing was people that were reselling long distance services. No one had local services. That was all the bells. In 1996, that all changed. The Telecom Act changed that to where everybody could sell local services. And you had everyone reselling the baby bells, local services. And we had to change our entire platform for that. The software's evolved. It's gotten better. It's gotten faster. You can put more information on a smaller machine this week than you could last week. And it's moved just about that quick, it seems like. And you just have to adapt, and you have to make sure that your people buy in on what you're doing. And in our organization, we let everybody talk to the end customer. We let programmers talk to end users, operations staff. If you punch 0 when you call my office, I'm the one that gets the telephone call. And I'll answer it, and I'll talk to you. And that's really where we get our growth from, is by talking to our customers, finding out what their needs are, and figuring out a way that we can solve that. And it's really not so much that we're making big changes at any one time. We're making lots of small changes each and every time that we talk to a customer. If you get off the phone and you haven't had an idea of something that you can do to improve it, to make it better, to make it easier for them to do their job, you probably didn't have a very good conversation on the phone. And we don't do a lot of email.
And jumping on something Jeff said, we are in a regulatory market. Our job is to help you see over the horizon as to what's coming down the road for you. So just consider, if you're a nationwide provider, you're dealing with the FCC, 51 jurisdictions, and the territories. So there's always different rules and regulations that you're going to have to deal with. And it's our job to help you take that information and figure out, let's say, for example, late payment charges. You know, you may have to come down to the least common denominator because your billing system is not capable of handling 48 different late payment fees. And so that's where we come into play. We get you started, but then we also help you look over that horizon, figure out what the next rule or regulation change is going to be, because change is inevitable in regulations, and it's how you react to it that's the important part.
So you asked about change, and change for us was what we were founded on. So it wasn't difficult for us because we were looking to change the industry from the way it had been, always a very slow process to quote, to connecting through digital means with the providers to get information that would take days and weeks and get it instantly. So that DNA of change that's within us has survived all the way through the company. It's something that we're constantly evolving and changing. We're very excited about in first quarter of next year, we're launching an availability tool so that agents and sellers that want to be able to type in an address and see all the providers that are there can do it in an instant for any product. Working off of the base of the quoting volume that we do, those types of changes are things that are actually very easy for us to make. So change to us is something we've embraced throughout the tenure of our company.
So you've mentioned a few modern things that might cause a pivot. Do you have any other things, as you said, Thomas, that are coming down the road that it would help for the audience to be thinking about?
Well, from our perspective, who knows where the IoT things are going to go? The Internet of Things is changing everything. And there may be regulatory issues at state levels because every car is going to have a phone number. Every microwave may have a tie-in. And so there's always those things that you just got to look at coming down the road. And I think that's why we're part of the Business Transformation Station. And every one of the vendors in there, all 5 of us, have a different specialty and a different perspective. And so it's also the partnerships of things that are changing in the way we do business.
Yeah, the integration is really what is driving us right now. Being able for us to take the quote that MasterStream put together and you went out and you've got the contract sold, and to pull that in and to make that bill show up that first time for that customer, to being able to do the tax filings and the compliance filings, having a seamless product that brings all these facets together is really our big challenge right now. And what we see on the horizon is marrying all these various pieces together so that you have one stream of being able to, one stream of business. And all the data flows through it, and you're not doing duplicate data entry, you're not doing, everything just works the way it's supposed to because you've taken the best of each one of us and put it together for the customer at the end.
I think the changes that I've seen center more around when we first pioneered automated quoting. It was all about just getting the information instantly. And automation was less about the relationship with the customer and more about getting data fast. Over the years, as there's more opportunities for people to work with technology, work with automation, the consumers have become, I think, a little pickier about the things that they want to automate versus the things that they don't. We've all been trapped in a phone tree where you're trying to manipulate an endless menu of options and never getting where you want to go, never getting a live body. That'd be an example of bad automation. So what I see with the carriers, the providers, and the agents that we work with now is a better sense of discipline around where do I want to save time? What aspects of my business do I want to have happen without me having to touch it so that I can spend more time with customer engagement and the things that make my business grow faster. And I agree with my peers here that as you step through the sales process and the entire business cycle from the sales process through to billing, making certain that taxations, you have compliance, all of those elements are things that we speed up in the Business Transformation Station that I think has made it a really good partnership between our companies.
You are all booked to give a similar talk a year from now at this show. So there's a strong vision behind this. Tell me more about this vision. What do you hope people will take away from this, and how do you hope they'll change?
My hope is that there's a group of people here that are sales agents today that are going to transition into being their own carrier. And I just want them to realize that that's not a big deal. That's not something to be afraid of. From our perspective, the regulatory side, it's not something you really need a lawyer for. We do a lot of this stuff, and I'm not a lawyer. Don't play one on TV. You just don't need that expertise. There are some states that you do, and we know where those are at. But it is not something to be afraid of. It's a transition. And then when you look at the 5 people that are there, you have the billing company, you have a quoting company, you have a payment agency, you have a sales tax company. You know, you're going to come in and you're going to say, when you walk through that section over there, there's going to be 5 entities that can help you check off boxes that say, yes, I need this, no, I don't, and I have my model.
I agree 100% with Tom. We're here because we want to make the life easy. Heck, I call our company's called Sandy Beaches Software. Someday I hope to retire on a sandy beach somewhere. And I hope in the meantime I have several customers that I've worked with in the past that have already done that. When you grow a company, we've had 4 companies that have gone from $150 in monthly sales to over $1 million. Well, one of them went to $4 million in monthly sales, got bought out by a publicly held company. We want to make that process easy for you. We want to make it seamless for you, and we want you to be able to compete well with anybody else out there in the marketplace. And by bringing all these different pieces together, I don't have to create every single piece of the chain. I only have to work on my core competencies, and I depend on these other folks to develop theirs, and by us then integrating with each other, you get the benefit of all those products.
I think integration is the magic word that I picked up on that you just said. For MasterStream, throughout the tenure of our company, if you wanted to use MasterStream, you got MasterStream the product, and you used our interface, and that was what you did your quoting and everything that you ran your business off of inside of our system. For us, the change in partnering with companies like this, as well as integrating with other companies, has been quoting as a service, us being able to provide via API the power of our engine into other applications. So someone that has already invested in Salesforce or NetSuite or some other CRM tool or another CPQ tool that wants to actually be able to automate the quoting, though, for telecom, we're telecom-centric, telecom-specific. So we're providing an option for companies now to either use a off-the-shelf standalone turnkey product, or if they have the development resources and want to integrate to us, that they can get MasterStream now inside of their own software application.
And one of the other things I hear from new entrants into the marketplace is, we're too small for you. You know, every major company started out as a small company. I've had many, many carriers come in and start out in 1 or 2 states, and then all of a sudden, 4 states, 4 years later, they're nationwide. So we help you with that march across the country. You're always going to have a core state that you want to do business in, but we're there to help you grow that business, and each one of us can help you with the different steps that you need to take to grow that business across the country.
So that's a compelling vision. Could you, I know this is a bit of an overlap, we've gotten some advice throughout, could you lay out one tangible first step people in the audience can make in the upcoming weeks, upcoming months? One tangible step.
I think rethink the existing processes. You know, ask better questions around how could I do this differently, and not accept the roadblocks that seem like they're apparent. Although we're a software company, it seems that half of our business is consulting, because it's sitting down with folks to look at the existing process, how it works now, and how it could be better. And that is a process of questioning. So I think it all starts with that, is taking a look at something and not accepting the status quo as this is as good as it gets, and I just need to do more of it, but how can I do more and how can I do better?
Your one step that you can take is just to reach out to someone and learn something else about what it is that they do and how they can help you. The telecom industry is a very small industry, and there are lots of people in the competitive industry that want you to be successful. Ask questions and make sure you understand what they're saying and how that can help you and adapt to the change that is happening. I just talk to other people in the industry.
And I think the one thing that the one takeaway is, know what you want. What do you want when it's all said and done? When you draw up that vision, what do you want? And then take that first step to call somebody that maybe it is us. And let's talk about the regulatory or the reporting or the registration implications of what you want. And then after that, go to the next step and just, like I said earlier, check those boxes and keep checking them until you have a set product. Okay, I know what I'm doing here now.
So as we begin to close out, I'd like for each of you to take a minute or two just to lay it all out there, your concluding thoughts. So starting on that side. So just to wrap up, what do you want to make sure we get out there?
Well, what I think you need to understand is it's not a big process. I said it more than once. It's a process that if you take little incremental bites of the apple, we can work you through it. There are many times that I get calls from new customers, and while they're talking to me, and this is not an ad for Google, but I'm Googling trying to figure out what they're saying and what they're doing. Because there's so many iterations. You guys are selling so many different things, or the same thing in so many different ways. And our job is to figure out how to put it in the right regulatory categories for you. And so that's the one takeaway. If you have an idea, talk to somebody. don't say it can't be done, but worse yet, I guess my last final thing is, don't let the regulatory process drive your company. Make sure your regulatory group or whatever knows what everybody else is doing, and keep the regulatory department in the loop so that they know where they have to look over their horizon to make sure that you stay clear.
And I would tell you, just because everybody else is doing it one way doesn't mean that's the right way to do it. I've been looking at the Universal Service Fund ever since that was introduced. And I've thought the Universal Service Fund is the biggest ripoff the American people have ever seen. When the government comes in and says that 64.1% of your business is interstate business and 35.1% of it is intrastate business, and they're going to base the taxes off of that, that's not right. So we've been looking at ways to make it, if they came in and told you everybody's property taxes were the same and you were all paying the same amount, because we've determined the average of all homes is such and such a price, we wouldn't stand for it. But on USF, we let them give us a safe harbor number, and we all go out and we pay that amount. Actually, there's 3 ways by law that can be determined. You can determine it by actual traffic usage on each individual customer. You can determine it by a traffic study, and you can determine it using safe harbor. The safe harbor number is by far the highest percentage number and going to make your customers pay the most or contribute the most to that fund. By breaking it down and doing a traffic study or doing individual usage on each individual bill, you can lower your overall contribution level. And that came about because a customer asked me a question about that after 10 years of me just blindly applying it. You just got to ask questions and figure out better ways to do things.
I think when you look at our company, you could almost divide our staff into 2 different divisions. There's the software developers and people that built the product, and then the rest of us that use the product when we were at other companies and ended up joining MasterStream. So my own story, I implemented MasterStream at 4 different companies where I was head of sales before joining MasterStream. Our director of sales has the same story. Our president implemented it at a different company before joining. So I would advise folks to take advantage of that experience in that people come to us and want to see the product. Let me see what it is that you sell. And I think the real beauty in what we do is, it almost sounds corny, but it's the people that we have that can take a look at a situation and look at how you can do something better. Because the software will speed things up, it'll automate things, but it's how we implement it and how we change processes in the way that your people do things every day that really makes it work. So that's I think probably the most important element when we implement with customers.
Excellent. Does anyone in the audience have a question for the panelists? Is there anything else you guys want to talk about or want me to ask you?
No, but if you have questions, we're all in booth 311 over there. Come on over, stop by and talk with us, and we'll give you our insights into the world of regulatory, billing, rate quoting.
Awesome. Well, this has been the Business Transformation Station. Thanks for checking in, and we'll see you soon.